The scream cut through the rain like a blade. "Please don't hurt me. I can't walk." She fell hard against the wet pavement, palms scraping, breath knocked from her chest. The alley lights flickered above, throwing broken shadows across her thin frame as footsteps stopped behind her. For a second, the world went quiet. Then a voice spoke, low, controlled, and dangerously calm. "Everyone," the man said, "step away from her." The men froze. Slowly, one by one, they turned. They hadn't noticed him before. That was their mistake. Minutes earlier, the city of Hanoi hadn't looked like this. It was glowing, golden lights, polished cars, streets sealed off for one of the most expensive private events the city had seen in decades. The cathedral on Mount Siren stood at the center of it all, its stone walls bathed in soft white light, guarded by men in black suits with earpieces and cold eyes. Inside, power was being dressed up as peace. Outside, the rain washed the streets clean of anyone who didn't belong. Jia had belonged nowhere for a long time. She limped through the service road behind the cathedral, one hand gripping a plastic bag with half a sandwich inside, the other clutching her coat closed. Her left leg dragged, slightly, something that never healed right after a winter accident years ago. She moved carefully, always aware that falling meant pain she couldn't afford. She had learned to stay invisible, but invisibility didn't stop her from seeing things. She stopped when she heard voices, sharp, urgent, not the kind used for weddings. Two men stood near a maintenance door, arguing in hushed tones. "It's timed," one said. "Vows. Exactly then. And if something goes wrong?" "It won't." Jia shrank behind a trash container, heart pounding. She wasn't trying to listen. She never tried to listen. Listening got people like her in trouble. Then she saw the case. Metal. Heavy. The wrong kind of careful. Her stomach turned cold. "No mistakes," the first man said. "Chairman Seo wants it clean. No survivors near the altar." Jia's breath caught. Altar. Her mind raced. Wedding. The wedding. She stood up before she could talk herself out of it. Inside the cathedral, Kang Min-jae stood perfectly still as hands adjusted his cuffs. He didn't look nervous. That was what scared everyone. Min-jae was young for someone with his reputation. Early 30s. Tall. Calm eyes that never revealed more than they chose to. The head of the Biko group. A name the media called a corporation, but everyone in the underworld knew better. Today, he was supposed to become family with his greatest enemy. "This ends the war," one of his men murmured. Min-jae didn't answer. Across the aisle, Seo Hyrin waited in a white dress that looked more like armor than silk. She met his eyes and smiled, but it didn't reach them. Their fathers stood nearby, exchanging pleasantries sharp enough to draw blood. Peace, wrapped in ceremony. Min-jae felt the familiar pressure in his chest, the sense that something was wrong, but wrong had been his entire life. Then the shouting began. "She's not invited." Jia stumbled as security shoved her back, her bag spilling onto the ground. "Please," she said, breathless. "There's something under the—" "Move," one guard barked. "Get her out of here. They're going to kill someone." Her voice cracked. "Please, you have to listen." Laughter rippled nearby. Guests glanced over. Annoyed. "Another beggar," someone muttered. Jia felt her face burn. She bent down to pick up her bag, hands shaking. "Sir," she tried again, grabbing the sleeve of a man in a suit. "I heard them," they said. He shook her off. "Touch me again, and I'll have you arrested." Her leg gave out. She hit the stone steps hard, pain shooting up her side. The guards dragged her toward the exit. That was when she saw the clock above the doors. 2 minutes. Her chest tightened. She could walk away. She should walk away. People like her weren't meant to stop things like this. But then she remembered the words. No survivors near the altar. Jia twisted free. She didn't run. She couldn't. She limped back inside. The organ music swelled. Min-jae took his place at the altar. As the priest began to speak, Min-jae's eyes flicked toward the doors. A girl stood there, soaked from the rain, hair plastered to her face, one leg shaking under her weight. Their eyes met. She looked terrified and determined. She started toward him. Security moved immediately. No, Min-jae said quietly. The men hesitated. Jia reached the front just as the priest asked them to join hands. There's something under here, she whispered, grabbing Min-jae's sleeve. Please, you have to trust me. He looked down at her, really looked, not at her clothes, not at her limp, at her eyes. They were begging. Min-jae made his decision. He pulled her toward him. What are you doing? Hyrin snapped. Min-jae didn't answer. The explosion answered for him. The force threw them both backward. Stone shattered. Glass rained down. Screams tore through the cathedral as fire and smoke consumed the altar. Min-jae felt himself hit the ground, pain blooming across his shoulder. He rolled instinctively, shielding the girl beneath him as debris crashed around them. Silence followed. Then chaos. Min-jae stood slowly, ears ringing. His men were already moving, guns drawn, securing exits. Across the wreckage, Chairman Seo emerged from the smoke, clapping slowly. Well done, he said. You always were hard to kill. Min-jae's expression didn't change. Arrest him, he said. Seo laughed. You think this ends anything? Min-jae looked down at Jia, who was coughing, eyes wide with shock. It ends today, Min-jae replied. 3 days later, the hospital room smelled like disinfectant and quiet. Jia woke to the sound of footsteps. She tried to sit up and winced. Don't, a voice said gently. Min-jae stood by the window, jacket gone, sleeves rolled up. She stared at him, confused. You're alive, she said. So are you, he replied. She swallowed. I didn't mean to cause trouble. He turned to her fully now. You saved my life. She shook her head. Anyone would have done it. Min-jae smiled faintly. No, he said. They didn't. He placed an envelope on the table. Inside was a key, a card, and a name written neatly beneath. This isn't charity, he said. It's gratitude. Jia's hands trembled as she looked up at him. Why me? Min-jae met her gaze. Because you chose to act, he said, when no one else did. And that was only the beginning. The city didn't calm down after the explosion. It held its breath. News vans crowded the streets around Mount Siren. Rumors spread faster than facts. Some said it was a terror attack. Others whispered about a failed coup. No one on the outside knew the truth, but everyone felt the shift. Power had moved. Min-jae felt it the moment he stepped out of the hospital room. His phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from allies. From enemies pretending to be allies. From men asking which side they were supposed to stand on now. He ignored all of them. Inside the room behind him, Jia lay staring at the ceiling, her thoughts louder than the machines around her. The doctors had told her she was lucky. Minor injuries, bruising, exhaustion, malnutrition. Lucky. She didn't feel lucky. She felt like she had stepped into a world that didn't belong to her and couldn't decide whether it was going to swallow her whole or spit her back onto the street. When Min-jae returned, she sat up straighter. You don't have to keep coming, she said quietly. I want to, he replied. That unsettled her more than if he'd said nothing. You're dangerous, she added, choosing her words carefully. He didn't deny it. Yes. She nodded slowly. Then why help me? Min-jae pulled a chair closer and sat, not looming, not towering, just there. Because, he said, people like me don't get saved for free. Her brow furrowed. I didn't save you for anything. I know, he said. That's why it matters. The first threat came that night. Jia was half asleep when shouting erupted in the hallway. The sound of boots. A crash. Min-jae was on his feet instantly. Stay here, he said, already moving. She didn't listen. She slid out of bed, heart racing, and limped to the door just as it burst open. A man lay pinned against the wall, Min-jae's forearm pressed against his throat. Who sent you? Min-jae asked calmly. The man laughed, blood on his teeth. You think this ends with Seo? Min-jae tightened his grip. Jia grabbed his sleeve. Stop. He glanced back at her. She shook her head. Not like this. For a long moment, Min-jae didn't move. Then he released the man, who collapsed gasping as security swarmed in. Min-jae turned to Jia. You shouldn't have seen that, he said. She met his gaze. This is who you are. Yes. And you still want me near you? He hesitated. I don't know what I want, he admitted. By morning, the offer became real. An apartment overlooking the river. Clean. Warm. Quiet. Jia stood in the doorway, afraid to step inside. This is too much, she whispered. Min-jae leaned against the wall. It's not enough. She laughed bitterly. You don't even know me. I know you ran toward danger when you didn't have to, he replied. That's more than most. She walked in slowly, touching the counter, the window, the bed. This doesn't make us friends, she said. No, Min-jae agreed. It makes us connected. That word lingered between them. The city reacted fast. Seo's arrest shattered alliances. Old enemies resurfaced. New ones emerged. Meetings turned tense. Guns stayed closer to hands. Min-jae moved through it all like a chess player, 3 steps ahead, but something kept pulling his focus back to Jia. She didn't belong here, and that was exactly why she mattered. You're a liability, his lieutenant warned one night. People will use her. Min-jae didn't look up. Then they'll regret it. She's not built for this world. No, Min-jae said quietly. This world is built wrong. Jia tried to build a routine. She cooked, cleaned, took walks when her leg allowed. She slept in silence instead of sirens. But safety made room for fear. One afternoon, she found a man waiting outside the building. He smiled too easily. Jia, he said, you don't know me, but I know you. Her stomach dropped. You saved the wrong man, he continued. And now you owe the right people. She backed away. I don't owe anyone anything. He shrugged. We'll see. That night, she told Min-jae everything. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, she whispered, I want out. Min-jae exhaled, slowly. There is no out, he said. Not once they've seen you. Her eyes filled with tears. Then why did you bring me here? Because, he said, voice low, I wanted to believe I could protect something good. Silence stretched between them. I don't want your world, she said. I just didn't want anyone to die. Min-jae nodded. Neither did I. That was the first lie he admitted to himself. The trap was inevitable. They struck during a charity event. Min-jae insisted on attending publicly, a show of control. Jia begged him not to go. They're watching, she said. I can feel it. They always are, he replied. She grabbed his hand. Then let them see you walk away. Min-jae squeezed her fingers once. If I do, they'll come for you harder. The explosion never came. The betrayal did. One of Min-jae's closest allies turned mid-event, guns drawn, chaos erupting as guests screamed and scattered. Jia was shoved aside, hitting the floor, her legs screaming in pain. Hands grabbed her. She screamed, Please don't hurt me. I can't walk. The words echoed again, just like the alley. Then everything stopped. Min-jae stood between her and the men, his presence alone silencing the room. He removed his jacket slowly. Anyone who touches her, he said evenly, dies tonight. No one moved. Min-jae turned back to Jia and held out his hand. Look at me, he said softly. I've got you. She took his hand. The fallout was brutal. Min-jae dismantled the traitor's piece by piece. Not out of rage, but necessity. When it was over, he returned home to find Jia packing. I can't stay, she said. Every time I do, people bleed. He didn't argue. Instead, he handed her a passport, a plane ticket. A new name, he said. Somewhere quiet. She stared at him. And you? I'll stay, he replied. Someone has to end this properly. Tears slid down her cheeks. You don't have to be alone, she whispered. He smiled sadly. I already am. She stepped forward and hugged him. For the first time, Min-jae didn't freeze. Months later, the city spoke of change. The Biko group shifted. Violence dropped. Deals became cleaner. Fear gave way to something like order. Min-jae remained a shadow, but a different one. And far away, in a small coastal town, Jia walked without fear, her limp still there, but lighter somehow. She watched the ocean and thought about choices, about how one moment could change everything. And somewhere between the waves and the wind, she hoped Min-jae had found his peace too. If this story moved you, if you believe courage can come from the most unexpected places, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more powerful stories, and comment below. What would you have done if no one believed you? Because sometimes the invisible are the ones who change the world. And this was one of those times.